A devoted wife lies motionless on life support, but her mind is wide awake. She hears her husband whisper secrets no one was meant to know. What he doesn't realize is, his perfect crime has a witness. And before the machines go silent, the truth will speak. Before we dive deeper, if this story already has your heart pounding, go ahead and like this video and hit the subscribe button right now. Drop a comment and let us know where you're watching from: New York, London, Canada, Johannesburg, Lagos. We're curious to see who's really locked in till the very end. The machines wouldn't stop beeping. Steady, mechanical, unforgiving. A cold rhythm that echoed through the sterile hospital room like a countdown no one else could hear. The fluorescent lights above flickered faintly, casting pale shadows across the walls. The air smelled of antiseptic and something heavier, something final. On the bed lay a woman who looked as though she had slipped quietly out of the world. Her name was Ava Carter, and according to everyone who walked past that room, she was gone. Not dead, but close enough. Her chest rose and fell in slow, assisted breaths. Tubes traced across her body like lifelines stitched by machines. Her eyes were closed, her face still, too still. But inside, Ava Carter was screaming. "I'm here. I can hear you. Please somebody help me." No sound came out. No movement followed. Only silence. The door creaked open softly. Footsteps. Slow. Measured. Familiar. Ava felt it before she fully registered it, the presence. The shift in the room. The air tightening like a held breath. Then came the voice. Low. Calm. Almost gentle. "You always hated hospitals." Her heart, if she could feel it, would have stopped. Marcus. Her husband. The man she had loved for 8 years. The man who now stood beside her bed, sounding like a stranger. A chair scraped softly against the floor as he sat down. "I remember when you twisted your ankle that summer in Miami," he continued, his tone distant, like he was recalling someone else's memory. "You made me promise never to let you stay in a place like this." A pause, then a quiet chuckle. "But here you are." Ava's mind raced. "Marcus, I can hear you. Why are you talking like that? Why does your voice sound so cold?" His hand brushed against hers. Or at least she thought it did. She couldn't feel it. Not really. Only a faint awareness. Like a ghost of touch. "You were always too trusting, Ava," he said softly. And something in his voice changed. It darkened. "You believed everything I told you." A long silence followed. The machines kept beeping. Steady. Relentless. Then he leaned closer. She felt it, not physically but instinctively. Like danger creeping into her bones. It'll all be over soon. Her mind shattered. "What? Marcus, what do you mean?" But the words never left her. And just like that, he stood up. The chair slid back. Footsteps moved toward the door. Then, click. He was gone, leaving behind silence, and the terrifying realization that something was terribly wrong. 3 weeks earlier, the sun spilled through the floor-to-ceiling windows of the Carter home, painting the marble floors in gold. It was the kind of house people slowed down to stare at. Elegant. Expensive. Perfect. Just like Ava had always wanted. She stood in the kitchen, barefoot, a cup of coffee warming her hands. Her reflection shimmered faintly in the polished granite countertops, composed, graceful, successful. At 32, Ava Carter had built a life many only dreamed of. A thriving consulting business. A beautiful home in an upscale American neighborhood. A marriage that, on the surface, seemed unshakable. Behind her, footsteps approached. Strong. Confident. "Marcus." "Morning," he said, pressing a quick kiss to her cheek. She smiled. "Morning." He moved past her, grabbing his phone from the counter. Always the phone. It lit up almost immediately. A message. He turned it slightly away as he read it. Ava noticed. She always noticed. But she never said anything. "Busy today?" she asked casually. Yeah, he replied, already distracted. Meetings. You know how it is. She nodded. Of course she did. But something had changed. It wasn't sudden. It never is. It was subtle. Small cracks in what once felt solid. Late nights. Shorter conversations. A distance that couldn't be explained, but could definitely be felt. Still, she pushed the thought away. Marriage wasn't perfect. People changed. Things got busy. That's what she told herself. That's what she believed. Because believing anything else would mean facing something she wasn't ready to see. Across town, in a quiet upscale restaurant tucked behind tinted glass and soft jazz music, Marcus Carter wasn't in a meeting. He sat across from a woman who looked like she belonged in a completely different life. Her name was Claire Whitmore. Blonde hair cascading over her shoulders. Sharp eyes. A smile that didn't quite reach them. She leaned forward slightly, swirling the wine in her glass. You're distracted, she said. Marcus exhaled, leaning back in his chair. It's complicated. Claire smirked. It's always complicated with married men. I'm not like that. She raised an eyebrow. Really? Because from where I'm sitting, you're exactly like that. He didn't respond. Because deep down, he knew she was right. Claire leaned in closer. So what's the plan? He hesitated. Just for a moment. Then, she has everything in her name. Claire's expression sharpened. Everything. The house. The accounts. The business. He paused. If I walk away, I leave with nothing. Claire sat back, studying him. And you don't want to walk away with nothing. No. Silence lingered between them. Heavy. Dangerous. Then Claire spoke again, this time slower. More deliberate. Then don't walk away. Marcus looked at her. What are you saying? She tilted her head slightly. I'm saying there are other ways to move forward. His pulse quickened. You're talking about. I'm talking about reality, she cut in smoothly. You're stuck. I'm not waiting forever. So either you figure something out. She leaned closer. Or this ends. Her words hung in the air like a threat. Marcus swallowed. What exactly are you suggesting? Claire didn't answer immediately. Instead, she smiled. A slow, calculated smile. I'm suggesting accidents happen every day. The drive home that evening felt longer than usual. Ava sat in the passenger seat, watching the city lights blur past. Marcus was unusually quiet. Hands tight on the steering wheel. Eyes fixed ahead. You okay? She asked. Yeah, he said quickly. Just tired. She studied him for a moment. Something felt off. More than usual. But again, she said nothing. Because sometimes silence feels safer than the truth. Days passed. Then a week. Then another. And somewhere in that time, Marcus made a decision. It happened late one night. The house was quiet. Ava was asleep upstairs. Marcus stood in the garage. The overhead light flickered faintly. His shadow stretched across the concrete floor. In his hand, a tool. Simple. Ordinary. But in that moment, it became something else entirely. He crouched beside Ava's car. His movements were careful. Deliberate. Every second felt louder than it should. Every sound echoed. But he didn't stop. Couldn't stop. Not now. Not after everything he had already set in motion. Claire's voice replayed in his head. Accidents happen every day. His jaw tightened. And with one final motion, he removed the one thing that would turn a normal drive into a deadly mistake. The next morning was beautiful. The sky clear. The air crisp. Ava stepped outside, keys in hand. She looked back briefly at the house. At the life she had built. At the man standing in the doorway watching her leave. Marcus smiled. Warm. Convincing. Perfect. Drive safe, he called out. She smiled back. Always do. Those were the last words she ever spoke to him as a free woman. The road stretched ahead. Calm. ordinary. Until it wasn't. It happened fast. Too fast. A turn. A break. Nothing. Panic. Her hands gripped the wheel. Her heart slammed against her chest. The car sped forward uncontrollably. Ava gasped, trying again, pressing harder. Still nothing. No, 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 no. The world blurred. A horn blared. Metal screamed. And then, impact. Violent. Shattering. Everything went black. Sirens filled the air. Flashing lights painted the wreckage in red and blue. Paramedics rushed in. Voices overlapped. Pulse is weak. Get her out, careful. Head trauma, possible internal bleeding. Ava's body lay motionless. Broken. Silent. But somewhere deep inside, she was still there. Fading. But not gone. Back in the hospital, the machines continued their steady rhythm. Beep. 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 Ava floated in darkness. Time didn't exist. Only fragments. Sounds. Echoes. Until a voice. A doctor. Severe brain injury. We'll have to monitor. Another voice. Marcus. Will she wake up? A pause. We don't know. Silence. Then footsteps fading away. Ava tried to move. To speak. To scream. Nothing. Only darkness. Only silence. Only the terrifying realization that she was trapped inside her own body. Hours later, Marcus returned. The room was dim. Quiet. He stood beside her again. Watching. Waiting. Then he leaned in close. So close she could almost feel his breath. And in a voice barely above a whisper, he said, "You should have just let me go." Ava's mind shattered again. "You made this harder than it needed to be." A pause. Then, "But don't worry." His tone softened, almost relieved. "It'll all be over soon." Inside the silence of her unmoving body, Ava Carter understood the truth. This wasn't an accident. This was betrayal. Planned. Calculated. Executed. By the man she loved. And as the machines continued their steady, indifferent rhythm, one thought burned through the darkness louder than anything else. I'm not gone. I'm still here. And I heard everything. Darkness had a sound. Ava Carter didn't know how else to describe it. It wasn't silence, not really. It was heavier than silence. Thicker, like being buried beneath layers of invisible weight, where time stretched and folded into itself, and every second felt like it lasted forever, and no time at all. At first, there had been nothing. No thoughts. No awareness. Just a void. But now there were fragments. Voices. Echoes. Pain that didn't feel like pain, but like pressure pressing against her existence. And the most terrifying part? She knew. She knew she was alive. And she knew she couldn't move. Please. Her mind reached outward, clawing at the darkness. Please, somebody hear me. But the world outside her body didn't respond. The first clear sound came like a crack in glass. Still no significant response. A man's voice. Calm. Clinical. A doctor. She's stable but neurologically unresponsive. Another voice followed. Soft. Controlled. Marcus. What does that mean exactly? A pause. It means her body is functioning, the doctor explained. But we don't know how much awareness is present, if any. If any. Ava screamed inside. I'm here. I can hear you. I understand everything. But her body betrayed her. Again. Time passed. Hours. Days. Maybe longer. Ava couldn't tell. But slowly, the world began to piece itself together. Footsteps meant someone was in the room. The soft hum of machines meant she was still alive. The cold tone in Marcus's voice meant something far worse. He visited often, but not the way a loving husband should. Not the way Ava remembered. He didn't hold her hand, didn't speak to her with warmth, didn't pray for her recovery. Instead, he talked. Freely, carelessly, Like she wasn't there. Like she couldn't hear. Like she was already gone. You always had to be in control, he muttered one evening, pacing slowly beside her bed. Ava focused. Every word mattered now. Everything had to be in your name. Your accounts. Your business. He scoffed quietly. Guess you thought that made you untouchable. A pause. Then a soft exhale. But nothing lasts forever. Ava's mind raced. Marcus, why are you saying this? What are you planning? But deep down, she already knew. The next time he came, he wasn't alone. Ava felt it instantly. The air shifted. There was another presence. Another set of footsteps. Lighter. More deliberate. And then, a woman's voice. Smooth. Cold. Unfamiliar. Well, this is her? Ava's entire consciousness sharpened. Who is that? Marcus spoke quietly. Yeah. A brief silence followed. Then the woman exhaled softly. She looks peaceful. There was something unsettling in the way she said it. Not sympathy. Not pity. Something else. Something colder. Ava felt something inside her twist. Who is she? Claire Whitmore stepped closer to the bed. Her heels clicked softly against the floor, each step measured, controlled. She looked down at Ava like one might look at a painting, detached, curious, unimpressed. This is the woman you couldn't leave? She asked. Marcus sighed. It wasn't that simple. Claire let out a quiet laugh. It never is it? Ava's mind burned. This is her. The one from the restaurant. The one he chose over me. Claire leaned closer. So this is what stands between us, she murmured. Ava wanted to scream. Wanted to lunge. Wanted to do anything. But she remained still. Trapped. Powerless. Marcus shifted uncomfortably. Keep your voice down. Claire straightened, folding her arms. Relax. She's not waking up. Those words hit harder than anything else. Not waking up. Like her life had already been decided. Like she was nothing more than a delay. I don't like this, Marcus muttered. Claire turned to him sharply. You didn't have a problem when you were making plans. Ava froze. Plans? What plans? Claire stepped closer to him, lowering her voice, but not enough. You said the accident would handle everything. Ava's mind exploded. Accident? Handle everything? No. Marcus ran a hand through his hair. It was supposed to, he snapped quietly. I did everything right. Ava's thoughts spiraled. You did everything right? Marcus, what did you do? Claire's tone hardened. Well, clearly you didn't. A tense silence filled the room. Then she spoke again. So what now? Marcus didn't answer immediately. And in that silence, Ava felt something shift. Something darker. More dangerous. Finally, he said it. We wait. Claire's patience snapped instantly. Wait, she repeated. For how long? Weeks? Months? Years? Her voice sharpened. I didn't sign up to be second place to a woman who's barely alive. Ava's heart broke again. Not just from betrayal, but from how easily she had been replaced. Marcus lowered his voice. She won't last that long. The certainty in his tone sent chills through Ava's mind. Claire narrowed her eyes. And if she does? Another pause. Longer this time. Heavier. Then, Marcus spoke. Quiet. Cold. Then we make sure she doesn't. Everything inside Ava shattered. No. No, Marcus. You can't. You wouldn't. But he already had. Hadn't he? Claire studied him for a moment. Then slowly, she smiled. That same calculated smile from before. I was wondering when you'd say that. Ava felt like she was falling. Falling endlessly into a nightmare she couldn't wake up from. Days passed. And with each visit, the truth became clearer. Sharper. More horrifying. They weren't just waiting. They were planning. They'll never question it, Claire said one afternoon. People pull life support every day. Marcus hesitated. It's not that simple. It is if you stop overthinking it, she replied. You're her husband. You have the authority. Authority. Ava's mind latched onto the word. No. No, you don't. Marcus paced the room. I need to be careful. Claire crossed her arms. You've already come this far. Her voice dropped lower. More intense. Don't lose your nerve now. Inside her silent prison, Ava fought harder than ever before. Move. Just move. Say something. Anything. Her mind screamed commands her body refused to obey. Fingers. Lips. Eyes. Nothing responded. Tears should have fallen. But even that was beyond her control. Until one moment, something changed. It was subtle, so small it could have been imagined. A flicker. A spark. A shift. Ava focused everything she had on it. Every ounce of will. Every fragment of strength. Move. Her lips trembled. Barely. Almost imperceptibly. But it was something. Later that day, a doctor entered the room. His presence was different. Calmer. More attentive. He moved closer, checking her vitals, adjusting something near her bedside. Ava felt it again. That faint connection. That fragile thread between thought and body. Now. Please now. She reached for it. Pushed against the darkness. Fought against the paralysis. And then, a whisper. So faint it barely existed. Doc. The doctor froze. Completely. His hand stopped mid-motion. His eyes slowly shifted to her face. Did you? He murmured. Ava strained. Everything inside her screamed. Again. Husband. The word broke apart as it left her. Weak. Fragmented. But real. The doctor leaned closer instantly. Ava, he said carefully. Can you hear me? Inside her mind. Yes. Yes, I can hear you. But all she could manage was a shallow, broken breath. He looked around quickly. Then back at her. What about your husband? He asked quietly. Ava fought again. Harder this time. No accident. The doctor's expression changed instantly. Confusion. Then concern. Then something sharper. Suspicion. What are you trying to tell me? He whispered. Ava pushed with everything she had left. He did it. The effort drained her completely. Darkness rushed back in, pulling her under. The machines continued their steady rhythm. But something had changed. Something irreversible. The doctor stood still for a long moment, processing, replaying her words in his mind. No accident. He did it. He looked at her again. Really looked this time. And for the first time, he didn't see a woman in a coma. He saw a witness. That night, Marcus returned. Unaware. Unwatched. Or so he thought. The room was dim. Quiet. The perfect cover. He stepped inside slowly, closing the door behind him. His eyes moved to the machines. Then to Ava. Still. Silent. Unmoving. Exactly as he expected. He walked closer. Each step heavier than the last. Then he stopped beside her. Looking down. Waiting. Listening. For something that never came. He exhaled slowly. This has gone on long enough. Ava's mind snapped awake again. No. Not yet. Please. He reached toward the machine. His fingers hovering near the controls. The line between life and death. And in that moment, Ava understood. This wasn't just a plan anymore. This was the end. But what Marcus didn't know, what he couldn't possibly see, was that somewhere beyond that quiet room, eyes were watching, and the trap had already begun. The night felt heavier than usual, like the air itself knew something irreversible was about to happen. Inside the hospital room, the lights were dimmed to a soft glow. The steady rhythm of machines filled the silence, each beat marking time like a ticking clock inching toward a final moment. Ava Carter lay motionless. Still. Silent. But no longer alone. Not really. Because beyond the illusion of quiet, everything had changed. Earlier that evening, the doctor, Dr. Daniel Hayes, stood in a private office, his expression tight, his mind racing. He replayed her words again. No accident. He did it. He had seen many patients in critical conditions. He had heard stories, theories, desperate fragments of speech. But this was different. There had been intent in her voice. Fear. Clarity. Dr. Hayes leaned forward, hands pressed against his desk. This isn't just medical, he muttered. Moments later, he picked up his phone. 2 hours passed. Quiet arrangements were made. Discreet. Precise. No alarms raised. No suspicions triggered. By the time night settled over the hospital, the room Ava lay in was no longer just a place of recovery. It had become a stage, and the final act was about to begin. Hidden just out of sight, a small surveillance camera had been installed. Positioned perfectly. Silent. Watching. 2 police officers stood in a nearby room, eyes fixed on a live monitor. Beside them, Dr. Hayes folded his arms, his jaw tight. "Are you sure he'll come tonight?" one officer asked quietly. Dr. Hayes didn't hesitate. "He's running out of patience," he said. "If what she said is true, he won't wait much longer." The officer nodded slowly. "Then we catch him in the act." Back inside the hospital room, Ava floated between awareness and exhaustion. Her strength was fading. Each attempt to speak earlier had drained her beyond measure. But she knew, somehow instinctively, something was happening, something important. Then, the door opened. Marcus stepped inside. Slowly, carefully. He paused just inside the doorway, scanning the room. His eyes lingered on the corners. The machines. The still figure on the bed. Everything looked the same. Unchanged. Safe. Exactly as it should be. He exhaled quietly and closed the door behind him. Click. The sound echoed louder than it should have. Ava's mind sharpened instantly. He's here. Fear surged through her. Please let this stop." Marcus walked toward her bed. Each step steady. Deliberate. There was no hesitation now. No uncertainty. Only decision. He stood over her, staring down at her face. "You really held on longer than I expected," he said softly. His voice was calm. Almost impressed. Ava screamed inside. "Marcus, don't do this. Please." He leaned closer. Close enough that if she could move, she might have been able to push him away. "You should have just let go," he whispered. A pause. Then, this would have been easier for everyone. In the next room, the officers leaned closer to the monitor. "Wait," one of them muttered. "Not yet," the other replied. "We need him to act." Marcus straightened. His eyes shifted to the machine beside her. The one keeping her alive. The soft glow of its display reflected in his gaze. His hand lifted slowly, hovering, just inches away from the controls. Ava felt everything collapse inside her. This was it. The moment. The end. No, not like this. Her mind screamed louder than ever before. "Move. Please move. Fight." Her fingers trembled. Barely. Almost invisible. But it happened. Marcus didn't notice. He was too focused. Too far gone. His hand moved closer. 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 Now! The door burst open. Blinding light flooded the room as officers rushed in. "Don't move." Marcus froze. Shock slammed across his face. "What the?" Before he could react, 2 officers grabbed him, pulling him back forcefully. "What are you doing?" he shouted, struggling. "I didn't do anything." "Save it," one officer snapped, securing his wrists. "We've got everything on camera." Marcus's eyes darted wildly. "Camera?" His gaze shot around the room. And that's when he saw it. Too late. No, this is a mistake," he stammered. But his voice lacked conviction. Because deep down, he knew. It was over. From the hallway, another voice echoed. Familiar. Panicked. "Marcus? What's going on?" "Claire." She rushed toward the room, her heels clicking rapidly against the floor. But she stopped dead in her tracks when she saw the scene. Marcus in handcuffs. Police everywhere. Dr. Hayes standing near the doorway. Watching. Her expression shifted instantly. From confusion to realization. Then, fear. "What did you do?" she whispered, backing away slightly. Marcus shook his head frantically. "Claire, just don't say anything." "Ma'am," an officer interrupted, stepping toward her. "We're going to need you to come with us as well." Her eyes widened. "What? Why?" The officer's expression hardened. "Conspiracy to commit murder." Silence crashed over the hallway. Back inside the room, Ava lay still. But for the first time since the accident, something inside her felt different. Lighter. It's over. Days later, the story broke. Headlines spread across the country like wildfire. Husband caught attempting to pull life support of wife in suspected murder plot. Affair partner arrested in connection with planned accident. The public was outraged. Shocked. Drawn into the dark, twisted betrayal. The investigation moved quickly. Too quickly for Marcus and Claire to recover. Text messages were uncovered. Bank records analyzed. Evidence piled up. Every lie unraveled. Every secret exposed. Weeks later, the courtroom was packed. Silent. Tense. Marcus sat at the defense table. No longer composed. No longer confident. Just a man unraveling. Beside him, Claire. Pale. Cold. But no longer in control. Across the room, a wheelchair was carefully guided into place. Ava. She looked different. Weaker. Fragile. But her eyes were alive. A quiet ripple moved through the courtroom as people realized. She had survived. When it was her turn to speak, the room held its breath. She adjusted slightly in her seat. Her voice, when it came, was soft. Shaken, but steady enough. "I couldn't move," she said slowly. "I couldn't open my eyes." A pause. Her gaze shifted, landing directly on Marcus. "But I could hear everything." A sharp silence followed. Marcus's composure cracked. "She's lying," he started. "Sit down," his lawyer hissed urgently. Ava continued. "I heard the plans, the conversations." Her voice trembled slightly. "But I never stopped fighting." Tears filled the eyes of those watching. Even the judge leaned forward slightly. "They thought silence meant I was gone," she whispered. Her gaze never left Marcus. "But I was still there." The courtroom felt heavier than ever. Every word landed like truth carved in stone. The verdict came days later. On the charge of attempted murder. Guilty. Marcus's head dropped. On the charge of conspiracy. Guilty. Claire closed her eyes slowly. Sentencing. Both defendants are hereby sentenced to a term of imprisonment. The judge's voice faded into the background. Because in that moment, justice had already spoken. Months later, the sun felt warm, gentle, alive. Ava sat outside the rehabilitation center, wrapped in a light blanket. The breeze moved softly through the trees. For the first time in a long time, she felt it. A nurse stood nearby, watching her with a small smile. "You're getting stronger every day," she said. Ava nodded faintly. Still recovering. Still healing. But alive. She looked up at the sky. Clear. Endless. Full of possibility. They had tried to silence her. Tried to erase her. Tried to turn her into a memory. But they failed. Because even in the darkest silence, even when her body refused to move, even when death felt closer than life, she had listened. She had endured. She had survived. And in the end, her silence had become the loudest truth of all. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like, share, and subscribe to Boundless Echoes for more interesting stories. We really appreciate your support. Comment where you are watching from, so we can give you a shout out. See you in our next video.